Dominance. Dominance. Dominance on the golden anniversary of the 73 squad that won the last title. Should have invited Melo, by the way. But another great win. Another great win for the Knicks. The Knicks against the Pelicans tonight at the Garden. Never let up. Never let up. They were hot from the get-go in this one. It didn't take them till the end of the second quarter like last night. But they were hot, out in full force. No doubt a wire-to-wire victory from start to finish. So that's now 7 of 8 for the Knicks. 5 in a row. 35-27 overall. And also, Miami lost once again tonight to put them behind the Knicks by 2 full games now? Maybe 3. I gotta check. But big, and with the Knicks win tonight, they are now a half a game from the Nets for that number 5 seed. Oh, and they're also 1-0 on this stretch where I asked them to go 3-2, right? So we have to do 2-2 now next week. So it's looking good. It was a good win for the Knicks. We'll talk about it. We'll talk some Yankees in this episode as well. We're going to talk a little about the spring training game that happened earlier today, the first one of the spring. Talk some Jason Dominguez, some Anthony Volpe and Oswald Peraza. Talk prospects and stuff like that. So we'll touch on the Yankees for a decent portion of the show as well. We recorded that segment earlier today, this afternoon. I'll throw that in there somewhere at the end probably, because I want to cover the Knicks. This is mainly going to be Knicks, but there's a decent portion of the Yankees in this episode. So if you want to get to that and don't care about basketball, just go to the description and click the timestamp. But let's talk Knicks. Let's get into it. Episode 484. I'm your host, RJ. Welcome to the podcast. Let's get into it. Welcome to BD4, an RJ Carbone podcast. BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. BD4 is a 5-star show on Apple Podcasts, also available in video format on YouTube and Spotify. So thanks for stopping by, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Champion of the world, turning, looking, see ya! Anthony for 3, bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied! Time!
Penetrates, creates, and showing some dexterity as well with the left hand.
Yankees win!
All right. Welcome to the show, episode 484 of the podcast. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. We are talking Yankees and Knicks in this episode. We're going to start off with the Knicks. The majority of the episode should be Knicks, but the last 20 minutes or so, we'll throw it in towards the end. We're going to get to that Yankee segment that I recorded earlier today where we talked about the prospects and the spring training game. But the Knicks pick up another good win tonight. They had an early lead, and like I said, they never really looked back. Right out the gate, RJ knocks down the first bucket of the game. Randall then goes for 8 straight. Brunson gets fouled on the 3-point line. He knocks all of them down. RJ converts a 3-point play at the basket. He's operating the pick and roll with Mitch Robinson, which also helped Randall get open and catch and shoot. He knocked down some pull-up triples at the end of the quarter. And the Knicks finished the first quarter with a 16-point lead, 42-26. Second quarter comes, and they get off to a hot start, a 9-2 run to start the period. That puts them up 23 points, 51-28. You got some more pick and roll between RJ and Mitch Robinson. Josh Hart getting it going with a few jump shots. The Pelicans made a run at it, a little small push about midway through the second. They pull it to within 15 points, but Thibs calls a timeout, and the Knicks storm into halftime going up by 21 points, and it's 72-52 at the break, which was ironic because 73 to 52 at the break because, it was 1973 night. But the third quarter comes, the Knicks balloon that lead to 27 points after a 9-0 run from the starting unit. Midway through the period, they're up 90-63. The Pelicans cut it to 16 points after some sloppy ball in the second half of the period. Sloppy ball security. I'm reading some notes I jotted down. But again, Thibs, after that he calls a timeout. The Knicks respond, and they enter the fourth quarter up 20 points again. Fourth quarter comes, and the Knicks go up 30 points at one point, I believe. And they were just having fun out there by the fourth quarter. I mean, it was over. You had Quickly lobbing it off the backboard to Randall on the fast break. You had the cool Derrick Rose moment at the end there. That was great. I loved seeing that. And so the Knicks defeat the Pelicans at Madison Square Garden tonight. 128-106 final score. Great win. It was another game much like last night where guys contributed from everywhere, all across the box score. You had 6 guys in double figures. You had 3 guys with 20 or more points. You had 4 guys with at least 5 rebounds. 3 guys with at least 5 assists, right? You had a night where, once again, Brunson wasn't all that hot. He was better, but he still had a moderate 20 points on 5 of 13. And the Knicks still figured out a way to win this big. It was a very well-rounded win. Very team-oriented win on a night that was all about team unity, right? The whole 1973 team came out at halftime, and the way the Knicks performed in front of them, you're starting to get that feeling, that maybe after all, you can get a little bit excited about this team. It's kind of similar, and Clyde was talking about it in terms of the unselfishness and the chemistry that these guys have developed with each other, not just on the court, but in the locker room, and they like each other, and shit, maybe it's okay to God forbid get excited a little bit about this Knicks team. Maybe you can get excited about their odds. I'm not saying championship level excitement, but certainly a start, certainly something you could definitely build off of. I'm kind of hoping this is like the 2017 Yankees, that roster, where they made it to Game 7 of the ALCS. Except I hope that this one continues to produce and doesn't fall off the earth like those guys did. But it reminds me a lot of the 2017 Yankees. They have a grit. They're young, exciting, up-and-coming with prospects and talent. They're very well coached, overachieving to their expectation, and maybe they can make a push in the playoffs like the Yankees did in 17. I kind of get similar vibes, talking about, old teams like the 73 Knicks. This kind of reminds me of the 2017 Yankees also, though. I see a little bit of that. It was a big night for RJ Barrett, and I want to start with him because I think RJ definitely deserves to get the game ball amongst their starters tonight.
Bing bang.
25 points for RJ, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 8 of 13 shooting, 4 of 7 on the arc, and 5 of 5 on the free throw line. RJ was aggressive right out the gate with the first jumper. Then he gets to the hoop after that. And he was efficient tonight. He was efficient tonight, and he was also efficient last night. And it got me thinking, especially after I was listening to a Knicks podcast and they brought it up. All right, they brought up a very good point that got me thinking about it a little more, about RJ's efficiency and his volume. And on the show, they raised the question, should RJ Barrett consider, not that he's, they raised the question, is he more efficient when he doesn't shoot as much? Again, I think he didn't have a lot of shots last night. I know he shot the ball well. And tonight, just 13 attempts. So I feel like when he shoots it 15 or so times, give or take a few, and he accepts that option as being the third, accepts the role of being the third option more, I think he's more efficient. So I was thinking, and I did some research on basketball reference, and I looked into it. And obviously, stats have a lot of different legs, and you can't just look at it as the end-all, be-all, and they've got a lot of flaws to them. But I think there's some truth to it that matches the eye test. And I looked into it in his game logs this season. I should probably check out his career game log, larger sample size, but there have been 24 games this season where RJ has taken 18 or more field goal attempts. He has shot 50% in 6 of those. Excuse me. There have also been 30 games where RJ has taken less than 18 shots. He has hit 50% in 13 of those. So to make it easier for you, that means 25% of the time versus 43% of the time. So there's a little bit of truth there in the numbers. It sort of backs the old eye test. I just, I feel like there's some truth. We know sometimes he forces it. He puts his blinders on when he drives and he plays with that tunnel vision. But tonight he was good. He was smart. He was efficient. I liked what I saw. And that's key to me for this team. The key is going to be RJ Barrett, kind of an X factor. Because you already know that Brunson and Randall, they're going to give you, consistency every night. They've been phenomenal. They're consistently dropping 20, 25, 30 points, and they're shooting the ball efficiently. So if RJ Barrett can now find a consistency to close out the rest of the season here, play to his strengths, only take a few spot-up threes a night, attack downhill, focus on running the break, and play defense, which he's done in this back-to-back, then I think we'll be all right, man. I think we'll be all right. And tonight we saw him add some playmaking in there. That's not always a thing we see with RJ. But he was doing an excellent job moving the ball and playing the role of a facilitator, leading the team in assists. He was working the high pick and roll with Mitch most of the night out there. A lot of his assists tonight came off the Mitchell Robinson screen. And they weren't just all direct pick and roll assists to Mitch. I mean, you had the Pelicans helping, so he'd hit up Randall on the perimeter when the defense collapsed. He'd dump it down low to Mitch, too, a few times. He made a nice skip pass tonight to the weak side of the floor and found Brunson in the corner. He had the driving kick early on to Josh Hart. He also, you had the double screen action where he fed Mitch in the pick and roll early fourth quarter. That was a nice play. Quickly sets it, Mitch sets it, RJ hits up Mitch on the roll. And RJ's always had a great chemistry with Mitchell Robinson. And I always say this, that I think the Knicks need to run those 3-5 pick and roll actions more frequently. It works. It always works between those two. And so tonight, Thibodeau granted that wish, and it worked effectively. So nice job. That was a big part. That's really why you got such great offense from the Knicks tonight. They moved it very well. 128 total points. Across the board, they shot 51, 40, 83%. 24 assists, which is a few more than they usually get. If they didn't have 19 turnovers, they probably would have had a lot more assists. But you saw that Brunson didn't have his best stuff. So, what I liked about that is we didn't really overkill the ISO ball despite that. He only took 13 attempts. He had 5 assists, right? Early on, he had the drive and kick to quickly around that Randall screen. He swung it to the weak side corner for Josh Hart later, with C.J. McCollum helping off him in the paint. He ran the 1-5 pick and roll with Mitch in the second half some. A few minutes later, after he ran one with them, they ran the same play, but it also drew Randall's defender in on Mitch on the roll, so he swung it back out to Julius for another 3-ball. And then later, he made another weak side pass. I think this one was to RJ. Randall, of course, he was doing his one-on-one stuff. He dropped 28 points, shot 55%, so I'll live with it when he's hot. But he also made his passes too. He did a very nice job tonight, Randall, finding the Knicks guards out on the perimeter, especially RJ and Quentin Grimes. So I like the offense. I like the ball movement. It was good, and it's been better lately. One thing I found interesting, the closing lineup, right? We talked about this last night, but look at that. Down the stretch tonight, Thibodeau calls timeout with about 6.5 or 7 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter, and he plugs in Brunson and Randall to make it Brunson, Quickly, Hart, Randall, and Mitch, which was the same exact unit he closed with against Washington the night prior, last night. Now, I know this was a blowout, but that's kind of my point at the same time. Because why even make those substitutions in garbage time unless you're trying to establish a consistent lineup and kind of give guys an idea in their heads of who it's going to be on most nights, right? At that point in the game, Thibs could have easily just kept RJ in or just threw in all of his reserves like he did with 2 minutes left. But instead, he went with his top minutes earners. That wasn't an accident. It was more of a kind of like a message, if you will, for lack of a better word. I think he's trying to find and send out a message that that's going to be his closing unit on most nights. And I have no issue with it. They play defense and they're consistent and efficient offensively. Speaking of that, Josh Hart. He's going to get the second game ball, the one off the bench tonight, Josh Hart.
Bing bang.
He's now played 5 games as a Knick, and he's gotten a game ball in 4 of them. He's unbelievable, man. 15 points tonight for Hart, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 5 out of 6 from the floor, knocked down his only triple, 4 of 5 from the free throw line, and 2 blocks. He really thrived tonight in the second and third quarters, in the middle of this game, to help the Knicks make it a blowout. I thought Hart played a big role in that. He continues to just do all the little things, the effort, the sprinting, rebounding it and then leading the fast break. And speaking of that, I want to kind of talk about Josh Hart's usage. Not the amount specifically, but how he's used in the offense. Obviously, he runs the fast break well, right? We've seen that. That's been his thing with any team he's played for. He runs the fast break. He took it coast to coast a few times in the fourth quarter tonight. He made 1 or 2 excellent outlet passes. I remember the one to Hart in the third quarter was nice. But we're also seeing the Knicks use Josh Hart in a spot-up role in half-court offense. Now, I don't know if when he was with Portland and I think he was also with New Orleans before and the Lakers, I don't know if he was used in those same roles. It's difficult to know if he was used in that role with Portland without actually watching those games. But I did my best in a pinch to try and find something. And so I went to NBA.com tonight. And I looked at his catch and shoot attempts with Portland versus the Knicks. And I see that Hart this season in 51 games with Portland averaged 2 catch-and-shoot attempts per game. With the Knicks right now, entering tonight, because I don't have the updated version, he's averaging double that, 4 catch-and-shoot attempts per game. And all of those attempts, every one of them so far with the Knicks, have come from behind the three-point line. So his catch-and-shoot has definitely seen an uptick in volume, and it's out further. So he's being used in more of that 3-and-D wing role, which I was hesitant to call him when they acquired him. Now, it's a small sample size, obviously. It's only 5 games. But in every one of his minutes, you're seeing him being utilized in a spot-up role. Now, maybe that's just because he's been on fire since coming here from three-point land. And, once the regression hits, because he's not going to shoot 60% the rest of the way, then he'll go back to slashing and cutting off of screens more. But I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on that to see how the Knicks continue to use Josh Hart. If he goes back down to being this 33, 34% shooter, do the Knicks continue to find him outside? Even a few times tonight, catch and shoot with Quickly. RJ kicked it up to him when he was above the break, took a few dribbles in and popped a mid-range. So it's interesting. I don't know that he was always this type of player, but the Knicks are using him in that role, and it's so far working. On the other end of the floor, as a team tonight, I like the way the Knicks play defense. And that's now in 2 games since Mitchell Robinson has returned. They look very solid. The Pelicans scored just 106 points, 39% only from the field, 21% from 3. They were awful. They did do a lot of damage in the paint, but they are a top-scoring paint team in the league. I think they're even better than the Knicks there. But I did think Mitch was excellent. Another double-double, 11 points, 13 rebounds, a block, a plus 19 in the box. I liked his defense, but the offense tonight was great. The rim runs, the screen and roll actions, the dump-offs from the dunk spot, and the offensive rebounding. Good once again, 3 more. He had a putback dunk in the second quarter off of a Quickly miss. That second leap a little later in the period after the Brunson miss to draw some free throws. I like the defense that Quentin Grimes played tonight on Brandon Ingram. His footwork is also very, very good. He stuck with him. He stayed in front. Ingram shot it poorly, 19 points on 7 to 22. Pelicans had no 20-point scorers tonight. Obviously, they're still without Zion. But overall, the Knicks, they did well defensively. They won the glass plus 15. They had 7 blocks to 0 for the Pelicans. It was good. And that's it for the Knicks part of the show. Again, we're going to get to the Yankees in a second, but a great win for New York Knicks. For the New York Knicks. And again, it's kind of getting fun. The Knicks are no longer just this 500 team or 2 or 3 games above 500. No, they are a season high, 8 games above 500. That's solid. They're a solid team. They're the number 5 or number 6 heading for that number 5 and not too far off the number 4. They're playing way better than expected. But maybe this is just real. Maybe this is who they are. Maybe we should have expected. I don't know. Who knows? Is regression coming? I wouldn't be shocked. But I'll tell you one thing. If the Knicks can beat Boston on Monday night, that's the next game. Oh my gosh, will that be the statement game? The statement game. Capital T, capital S, capital G. That would be the statement game. I know that's a cliche. It's people use that all the time, but I think that would be one. Sorry. If they can do that, I think we've got something real brewing here. But we'll see, because you don't get many teams going 35-27 with a roster like this. Young, no 30-year-olds, no superstar, and they're doing this. So you got to give credit to them. They're doing an exceptional job with what they have. I think I graded the Knicks as a team last month, which we're going to, do our progress report in a few days. I think I gave them a B-. But in a few days, we're going to be grading them again. So stay tuned to that because it could go up. It could definitely go up. So after the next Knicks game, we'll probably have our progress reports come out. So stay tuned if you're interested to see what I give them. And that's it for the Knicks portion of the show. We will get to the Yankees part now. And then after that, we'll wrap it up with our NYY-NYK-MMA trivia question of the day, which will be a Knicks question. All right. So thank you for tuning in. Let's get to the Yankees part of this show. Let's head to break. And from there, we'll talk Yankees. Stay with us. Hey guys, so if you are a listener of the podcast often and you want to know where to find me on social media, you can find me on Facebook at BD4. You can find me on Twitter at BD4Pod. And you can also find me on Instagram at Rob J. Carbone. BD4 is located on many different platforms. You can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, and if you do there, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and review. You can listen to it on Spotify, but you can also watch the podcast on both Spotify and YouTube. BD4 is available on many other platforms as well. All you got to do is search it up. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and much more. We also have a website now for BD4. If you go to BD4blog.com, you can find the blog, the podcast links, and also where to find me on social media. Just go to BD4blog.com. All right, so I don't know which part of the episode this segment will be in, but it's going to be episode 484, and it's obviously it's already out while you're listening to this. But it's part of this Knicks episode. The Knicks are going to take on the Pelicans tonight as I'm speaking. But as you're watching or listening to this episode, that game is over. And this Yankees part, is included in that podcast episode. So episode 484 of the podcast. Sneaking in some Yanks here because today was a big day, man. No, it's Saturday, February 25th as I record, so the Yankees just finished up their first spring training game of the season. It's always good to just see live baseball again after months, right? And this game wasn't televised on Yes Network, so I have the MLB app, so I opened it up and I watched it on the Philadelphia stream. And some takeaways, not a ton, but the Yankees did lose 7-4 for anybody who gives a shit. But I watched this one mainly for Jason Dominguez, and I'm sure most of you did too. We'll talk about him, but I've also just been starving for baseball. I mean, yesterday was the first day of spring training for the other teams, and I watched the Boston Red Sox play the Northeastern Huskies because I've been so desperate to see baseball. So, yeah. But this game began in typical fashion with IKF, the leadoff hitter, grounding out to shortstop, just in very IKF fashion. He actually did so in his first 2 at-bats before collecting a base hit later. The Phillies, they go up 2-0 after 2. Some guy Wilson hits a home run off of Weber. Yankees fans saw Ryan Weber at times last year, I think before he got injured maybe. He's just a journeyman. Top of the 3rd inning, Glaber, who looked good at the plate today, he takes a fastball to right field for a home run. So it's 2-1 Phillies. Glaber also doubled today. He looked good up there. But the top of the fifth comes, and that's when Jason Dominguez clobbers one. Just drills the shit out of one to left field to tie the game. So the game is tied, and a little later in the inning, Oswaldo Cabrera, he singles to the left side to bring in a pair of runs, and the Yankees take the lead. But that was it for the Yankees. The Phillies, a few extra base hits, some RBIs later on in the 5th, 7th, and 8th innings, and they would end up winning the game 7-4. But amongst the regulars, the guys that we're going to see and the guys that we care about, IKF picked up a hit. Glaber had 2 hits with an RBI. Dominguez with the home run there. Oswaldo with a hit, 2 RBIs. And of the 9 pitchers who threw today for the Yankees, nobody really of importance. I mean, you did see Greg Weissert get some reps. He was part of the team towards the end of the year last year. That was the dude who... Didn't he, walk 5 people in a row where he balked, and he had that nightmarish debut, from what I remember? And then he kind of had some decent outings, but... nobody we need to look at seriously pitched today. But yeah, Dominguez. That should be an interesting one to keep an eye on this spring. I don't expect him to break camp, nor should anybody. He's probably spending all of this year in the minors, and maybe all of next year. Possible September call-up next season. But he is, he's just 19 years old after all, or I think he actually just turned 20 this month. So he's still very young. But I mean, shit, I could also see where it's like, if you wasted all of our time on useless scrubs like Aaron Hicks and Joey Gallo out there last year, how bad could it really get? Can Dominguez do 215, whatever it was? This kid's got a ton of hype. He's got a ton. On the MLB pipeline, they grade him as a 55, which is above average, right? On the 20/80 scale, I think 50 is average, 55 is above, and then 60 and up is plus, right? So he's 55. His power tool is graded as 60. That's plus power. Hit tool's at 55. His run is 55. His arm is 55. His fielding is 50 average. Currently the 47th best prospect on the pipeline in the top 100. He's second right now, but that's not the updated list. He's probably going to jump to 1 once Volpe gets called up later. But he's got there's a lot of things to like about him. Obviously, he's a switch hitter, great bat speed. He's got tremendous exit velocity numbers, they say. Can do it from both sides of the plate, although he has been better from the left side right now. Good control of the strike zone. They say he's bulked up a little bit, which you can see. He's stocky, right? Now that's probably slowed him down a little bit, but he's still got solid speed. I mean, he stole 37 bases last year, and he's worked on driving the ball more and getting more lift on it. So, on his swing. So there are some things to like. Here's the thing with me when it comes to these prospects that've got so much stock behind them. It's almost like he's got so much hype, it's almost become unrealistic expectations. Like, Yankees fans can be so damn stupid and silly sometimes. Like, they make these guys into these fantasy characters, superheroes, right? I mean, we are hearing Mantle, Trout, Bo Jackson comparisons out there. But remember, this kid is still just 20 years old. It's really hard to grade that. And he's only 5'10", so you should keep that in mind. Obviously, You got the Jose Altuves of the world, but he's small. But like right on the pipeline report, they say that in the scouting report on MLB Pipeline. Hold on, skipped it. So they've got him at two. They say on the report 270s hitter potential with 30 home run pop. That's what it says. That's the projections. So that's very good, and I'll take that. But again, Yankees fans are acting like this guy's going to win the Triple Crown every season. He's 47th. I'm just saying, like, there are scouting reports and there are fans. So with all the hype, just look at the reports. Stop going on Twitter and just try to stay balanced with your expectations of these guys. He's called the Martian, but because he's got these unique skills, right? We've given him these labels. The Martian, that's what we're calling him. It's kind of like the Porzingis thing, the whole unicorn nickname. And look now, Porzingis never amounted to being that type of player, right? He's still a solid player. He's been an all-star. He was on the all-rookie team, but he's also 8 years into his career, and he's averaging 19, 8, and 2. I'm just saying, I think with these prospects, sometimes we need to relax and temper our expectations because I don't want to get too disappointed. You guys are talking, again, the Bo Jackson, Mike Trout. Like, what if he ends up just being like, I don't know, Melky Cabrera? Like we need to, I'm not saying he's going to, but we need to, we did it with Glaber, man. I fell for it. I was saying Glaber was Cano. I was saying he's an Altuve type. He's going to be a 300 hitter every year. I've learned. I've just learned. And that's why I'm never opposed to moving any of these prospects before they debut. That's why. Because with the amount we hype them up, there's a good chance that their value is probably going to be the highest before they even see a big league at bat. Honestly. That's why we're in win now mode, and that's why I'm never opposed to moving these guys. Because you never know. And especially with Cashman's prospects, a lot of them seem to be closer to their floor than they do in terms of reaching their ceiling. Anyways, speaking of the outfield, Oswaldo Cabrera took advantage of his first day of, I guess, tryouts by getting on base twice, producing a couple RBIs. Unfortunately, regardless of what Oswaldo does in camp, for some reason I still get this bad feeling that it's going to be Aaron Hicks on opening day in left field. I just feel like the Yankees have they find reasons. They obsess over the veteran. I get flashbacks of Brett Gardner always winning the job over Clint Frazier. And I hated that at the time. But it's also, the Yankees, maybe they're trying to raise his value one last time. It's always something. I'm sure there are a little bit of politics involved since he's got 3 years left on his deal, Hicks, which is just hilarious. Or maybe they're just that damn delusional and they think that he can actually give them something, which is also hilarious. But it's sad at this point. It's pathetic. The guy hasn't been decent since 2018. And even after that season, I was still on board for making him the fourth outfielder at best. The last 4 years since then, he's only played in 275 games. He's got a 200 batting average and a 702 OPS. He just watched it. He's got slow bat speed, slower than Greg Bird. He's below average in the outfield now. He's jogging the balls. He's getting lazy. The arm strength is gone. He's 33 years old. He's not very durable. The fact that he missed over a month's worth of games last year, and we were all pleasantly surprised by that, tells you all you need to know about his health. It's just amazing. It really is amazing that they're still trying to sell us Aaron Hicks. They didn't go after Reynolds because they thought the price was too steep. So why not just pivot now to Oswaldo Cabrera? I thought Cabrera looked good. I thought he looked fine in left field. Obviously, the playoffs, that was a disaster. But so is Hicks, right? Everywhere. In 44 regular season games for Oswaldo, he gave the Yankees 19 RBIs, 15 extra base hits, a 740 OPS, 109 OPS plus if you're into that. He's a switch hitting bat. He plays many positions, so he's very versatile. I would just do it. Damn it. Just do it. Just give him a shot. At this point, give him a shot. We can't keep going back to Aaron Hicks. It's the definition of insanity. The shortstop battle will be interesting. I'm not going to lie. I didn't love the fact that IKF got a base hit today. I kind of need him to go 1 for 40 this spring to make me feel comfortable. But it's also obviously going to be Volpe and Peraza battling it out. They weren't in the lineup today, but probably tomorrow we'll see at least one of them. And again, I still think Volpe begins the season with Scranton in AAA, and then Peraza probably wins the job, even if he's slightly worse this spring than Volpe. The one thing I just don't want this season is another nonsensical game of musical chairs. If Peraza wins the shortstop job, then I want Peraza at shortstop. If Volpe is ready by May or June, whenever, I wouldn't mess with shortstop if you've already got Peraza out there for a couple months. I just want consistency at the shortstop position. Plus, Peraza is already graded as the best defensive shortstop in their system. So I would just move Volpe to second base or third base when he's ready. I think there's been talk already of having him play some second base. And again, I'd have no issue saying see you later to Torres by then, right? I mean, especially if the Yankees plan on making a deadline move, which they will of some sort. And if they want to do that and stay under that tax line, which they usually like to try and do, they're going to have to move off a contract because they're right there. So I'm looking at Glaber, even IKF as probably the two easiest guys to deal financially. Forget Donaldson. You were not moving that contract without giving up a haul. But yeah, I don't want a shortstop rotation again. Please. I just think back to how pathetic it was that the Yankees played 3 different shortstops in a 4-game ALCS last year. How do you take yourself seriously not having a set shortstop? It's the most premium position in baseball. And you're the New York Yankees. If these two kids, and it's not me trying to be tough on them. It's more me having frustration towards the Yankees. But if these two kids aren't a booming hit, I am talking superstar caliber, MVP candidates, not decent like Torres. If they're not booming hits, I'm like, I might become a protester, like an old man protester. Because just they've hung on to these kids. They've done everything they could these last couple years to not make any big home run moves and obvious moves and be the Yankees, because they're relying so much on these two kids. For 2 years in a row now, the Yankees have passed on a loaded shortstop market. Right? We're talking Correa, Seager, Simeon, Baez, Story, Trey Turner, Correa again, Bogarts, Swanson. Unbelievable. And I'm probably missing one or two. It's unbelievable to me. So they've let all those guys walk to other teams. And the Yankees walked away with Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and currently we're TBD. So if these two kids aren't studs, that will, in my opinion, become just one more fireable offense under Cashman. Because then what? Then what do you do? What are you left with? So I mean, they better be good. Great. They better be great. I think what will happen is Peraza wins it out of camp. But I also get a gut feeling that he won't be there every single day shortstop. I think we see some kind of bullshit 65-35 rotation with he and IKF. I just feel gross because Boone loves that guy. The Yankees like him. Clearly they do. I mean, what evidence proves otherwise? The fact that they stuck with him all of last season, making excuses, calling him one of the best shortstops in the game. The fact that he started most of those playoff games, and then they re-upped his contract for $6 million. I mean, come on, it's coming. It's not going to be what we all want. It's not going to be that way where we get this big youth movement and everybody gets it. Like, I don't envision. I'm trying to be conservative because I just can't envision the Yankees giving Volpe, Cabrera, Peraza all these everyday reps by the summer. I just don't feel like. I feel like that's too good to be true. The amount of bullshit they're going to spew. Because you still got Donaldson and Hicks under contract. You still got IKF. They're going to use the vets. Unless they prove me otherwise, but I don't I don't know, man. I don't know. I wonder if we'll see some DJ LeMahieu tomorrow. It's going to be interesting with him. Obviously the Yankees and DJ decided not to get the surgery, which I don't love. We've seen this story a few times before, most recently Frankie Montas. I would not be shocked if we got another extended DL stint this season with the toe injury. Because how do we know that he's actually 100% in baseball shape? Right? Like, he hasn't truly tested it out yet. I want to see him play 9 innings every day, bounce around 3 different positions on the cold April dirt, right? Run out the box 3 or so times a night. We have to see that first. We have to see that before we can really get optimistic about his health. I think it's Donaldson at third base on opening day. And then from there, you'll probably see LeMahieu bouncing around if he's healthy. But I do wonder if he's going to be limited this season to kind of save him for the playoffs. Maybe they rest him more and save him. Which is pathetic because this contract has been nothing but rest and injuries and inconsistency with DJ. But yeah, I mean, if he goes down again, it's not looking good. It probably means more at-bats for Donaldson and IKF again, right? So I am praying to the Lords that DJ LeMahieu stays healthy and the Yankees can figure out a way to just keep him healthy. That's it. He's got to stay healthy, man. But yeah, they opened up the spring today. Just talk briefly about a few position battles. So this episode is mainly Knicks, but I just wanted to add some Yankees in there. Episode 484. With that all said, that's it for this segment of the show. Let's get back to the Knicks. let's talk about it. Wrap this up wherever we are in this episode. I don't know where I'm going to put this segment yet, but that's it with the Yankees talk. So thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you tuning in to the show. Let's get back to it. All right. Hope you enjoyed that portion of the show. Talked a little bit about the Yankees' upcoming season, spring training, talked some prospects. But we're going to wrap this episode up now. We'll get to our NYY-NYK-MMA trivia question of the day. And it's going to be a Knicks trivia question, being that this episode was mainly Knicks. All right. So for this episode 484, our trivia question: true or false? Iman Shumpert's highest points per game average came in his rookie season with the Knicks. True or false? Iman Shumpert's highest points per game average came in his rookie season with the Knicks. So let me know the answer wherever you can reach me. If you get the answer correct, I'll give you a shout out in the next episode in front of all 2 of my followers, my listeners. True or false? Iman Shumpert's highest points per game average came in his rookie season with the Knicks. And that's it. I appreciate everybody stopping by. Episode 484 is in the books. The Knicks defeat the Pelicans 128-106. The Yankees lose to the Phillies 7-4. Who cares? Baseball's back. Basketball's getting into the thick of things. The dog days of the year. A lot of fun coming up, hopefully. So I'll see you in the next episode. We'll talk more Knicks. Episode 485 in the books. I'm your host, RJ. And I'll see you then. Later. This episode was brought to you by Anchor.